Yeah,
yeah. So Tee Higgins. So this isn't a huge shock, as this was kind of reported on a couple weeks ago at this point, right? So they franchise tagged him. It's $26.2 million. And this is the second year in a row now that they used it on Higgins. And they're just the Bengals are in this spot where like they gotta pay some people, right? Jamar Chase, he's gotta get paid. Tee Higgins, he's gotta get paid. And I feel like for T, there's so many teams that could use him. You know, like we mentioned the Patriots before, the Commanders, you know, before they got Debo, but like there's teams that could definitely use him, and I think would be willing to give him a sizable contract. I just don't know if this is going to result in him staying with Cincinnati. You know, because like, is there a team, like, let's just say you're the Patriots, right? You got a bunch of money, you got some draft capital. Are you giving up both of those things to go get Tee Higgins, or are you just going to draft a receiver? Because I got to be honest, I might go draft a receiver. And I like Tee Higgins a lot. I don't know. Because I feel like receivers, they're not easy to find in the draft by any means, but I think that usually there's a good amount of talented receivers that come out, and then there's just levels to it. And listen, as someone who has heard from Packers fans nonstop about Tee Higgins, the only concern that I have is the same concerns I have about Christian Watson, right? And that their ability to stay on the field, you know, through no fault of their own, they get hurt sometimes. And so I don't know. Like, Tee Higgins is a very good wide receiver, but I don't know if I'm giving up major draft capital and also going to pay him that major contract too.
No, you don't. As a franchise, you don't want to be in a position where you have to pay your edge rusher, your number one receiver, and your number two receiver all at the same time. And that's where the Bengals are, because they can't get shit done ever. They get cheap when they shouldn't. And now they're going to probably have to overpay if they do keep Tee Higgins. He's going to play at what, 20 plus million a year this year, as is Jamar Chase on his 5th-year option. Like,
within a year.
It seems like they are doing this wrong. And you like it for the Bengals in that Joe Burrow will have Higgins and Chase to throw to at least for one more season. Unless some team makes Tee Higgins an offer, right? There's always that. When you tag him, a team can give him the trade comp, which would be ridiculous. So it's not going to happen, but there's that possibility. I don't know. It just feels like the Bengals are going to be in hell perpetually, even with Joe Burrow as their quarterback.
I think it's just going to be, do they push out the money, right? Because they have a good amount in cap space, if I'm not mistaken. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think it's terrible, but I think they're decently high up there. Again, if I'm not, I'd have to look.
Yeah, they're 14th. They're right ahead of the Rams and Broncos.
Okay, so in terms of the Bengals, like, they can structure this the way that, like, they can push a ton of money out. The salary cap's going up again. It's going to keep on going up. But that's, I think, the way that they're going to have to do this. Like, they're going to have to put a ton of money on the back end for this to work out. Because, again, it's not just Tee Higgins. It's Jamar Chase, too, who is going to command one of the largest wide receiver contracts we've ever seen. Like, that's the way that that's going to go. So, Dakota, we were talking about this on Friday, and I was like, I don't know how that would work out. And I like that how that got completely smashed by the time we were done with GPS. DK Metcalf would be fun, but what are you giving up for DK Metcalf? Like, what are you good? Because the whole, was it 2nd round pick or 3rd round pick and like another receiver? Listen, I believe in the Packers receivers. I think they need to go get another receiver. Romeo Doubs, you have injury concerns. The guy just had another serious concussion. Christian Watson's going to miss a good chunk of the season. Are you willing to give up on Jaden Reed, who you got a 2nd round pick, and also I think he's pretty explosive when he can catch the ball. I don't think the Seahawks are doing that, and I don't think the Packers are doing that. So it'd be cool. Like, DK Metcalf's a great player, but I don't think so.
Yeah, the Bengals gotta really hit this draft. Tee Higgins is so good. I get why it's hard to like justify letting him walk or letting him go. But receiver is one of the easier positions to find via the draft, especially if you've got a quarterback like Joe Burrow, right? Like, he elevates the receivers. There's no question about that. And it seems like smart teams. And I think the Bengals would catch a ton of shit if they let Tee Higgins go for nothing. But like, really good franchises, they make those tough decisions, right? And it's because they need to spread the money around. That their defense was not good last year. That's why they didn't get into the postseason. So they need to spend their money at other spots. When you have a guy as good as Jamar Chase already, like just fill in the gaps outside and around him. I think that's what bothers people about it.
So here's the issue, right? So like, let's just say a Trey Hendrickson, right? Because he's what, 31? Is that just said?
Yeah, and he wants more money, right?
Yeah, like so Hendrickson or Higgins. Higgins is younger. You know, he's due for a big contract. I don't know, man. Yeah. Like, because I feel like the Hendrickson, you lose him, man, you're losing a beast. And I like Tee Higgins a lot, but it's kind of like you're saying, I'd rather take Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and then just go and find another wide receiver.
Yeah.
You know, I that's how I would potentially rock with that.
And what we'll see over the next week too, because like, okay, so Darius Slay set to be released today. There's going to be other players released throughout the next week that will start to free up more cap space for these teams. And you start to get a better idea of what they might do. And it's like players like Sam Hubbard for the Bengals could be like guys you see get released. So it's a little hard to say at this exact moment what maybe some of these teams will do. But more guys are going to get cut. More veterans that probably have 1 year left on their deals, that take up money. Zach Moss didn't really work out for the Bengals last year.
You know what? And Perna, we're talking about this too. Like, we're talking about paying the receivers, right? Tee Higgins and Jamar Chase. Their offensive line, they went out and they drafted him, but their offensive line needs to get better too.
Yeah, and they're releasing veteran guard Alex Kappa, right? Like, Kappa's gone.
Yep. So
that'll help with the Kappa.
It's a matter of like there's things that they need to address, and they have really dynamic playmakers, but you know, they also need to fix up that defense a bit, and their offensive line needs to get better too.
If I were the Bengals, I would have cut Tee Higgins, signed Devontae Adams once he becomes a free agent. Then you draft a receiver, and you're good. You're good to go on offense.
That's it. New England, New England. Because if Tee Higgins was getting released, I'm like, New England's going to pick him up tomorrow. You may like just throw him a major contract. You go get yourself a receiver and have a nice day. But like I said,
most sought after free agent.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's gonna make like 21 million this year. But
DJ Reed, interesting.
He's gonna get released too, right?
DJ Reed looks like it. Also, because it didn't happen when we were there, or when we were together. But good old Travis Kelce announcing he's coming on back. He's going to run it back one more time.
Oh yeah, we said that on Friday.
Did we?
Yeah,
I wasn't there.
It's hard to remember because we were both so hungover. But we briefly mentioned Kelce's coming back.
I've never done that. But yeah, Kelce coming back, I feel like is not moving the needle for me a lot. Especially because you saw Watson and Gray kind of get some more reps and stuff. You know, again, he had a huge game against the Texans. Every now and then he breaks off. But I'm curious to see what kind of Travis Kelce we're going to get in this upcoming season.
Well, the real Travis Kelce, please sit down. You're old.
Heel turn.